Hello, it's been a while, but in the absence I had, I actually have a a bachelor's degree in supply chain with a logistics concentration, and as you can see, my GameCube collection has grown to almost near completion. I'm only missing around 8 titles. A lot's been changed, and the world's in total chaos due to this coronavirus, but that's besides the point. I even have the more elusive titles. Look at that. Pokemon Box, Ruby and Sapphire, Spirits and Spells, Go-Go Hyper Grind, even this bad boy right here, the Metroid Prime Wind Waker combo. So I'm only missing, say, a couple of expensive games. City Racer is becoming really expensive and difficult to find, and of course Disney Sports Basketball. And I don't even really count the Resident Evil dual pack or the 2-pack with the Zero and Resident Evil remake, or the 15th anniversary, or the Sonic Adventure double pack, or the Super Monkey Ball double pack, because those are just standard releases in a cardboard box. But that cardboard box really drives up the value. And look at this. I try to get everything Black Label. You know why? It looks uniform. It looks sexy. Well, sexy might be not the correct terminology, but it looks uniform and orderly. Except you, Mr. Standout right there, and you, Mr. Misfit. I only have like a couple, like 4 player's choice games that I need to replace, but anyway. Yeah, so the topic of this video is due to a publisher that doesn't have much information on it. I guess they were a publishing company during the GameCube's lifespan and towards the Wii's lifespan, but then they got dissolved, and there's not much information on Encore other than they published some of the more difficult games to find on the system. They're just, a budget develop or wow, I'm twisting my tongue here. They're a budget publisher for niche or uncommon, or not very highly demanded type games back then. I think they're still around under Encore with a crown on it. The only thing I could see was that they had a couple PC casino slot machine games. They're budget games, but I'm not sure if that's the same Encore. Anyway, Encore, if you're familiar with the Wii and budget titles, the budget publishers, Maximum Games is probably the most notorious as far as low print runs. So there's some publishers that, like Nintendo, they produce a lot of copies, they sell a lot of units, and they have popular titles. Then there's some publishers that are second party or third party that produce, like Ubisoft, they produce a lot of copies. Some games they produce have lower print runs than others. And then there's the budget publishers, which sometimes they flood the market with lots of copies of shovelware or budget games, but other times they produce very small amounts of copies because I guess they only have so much funds to produce and print a certain amount of copies on their systems, and then that's it. They rarely reprint, and a lot of those times they're hard to find, but they're not expensive. But then there's some instances where they produce a very small amount. The games are either crap or very underrated, and then they become expensive because they're just that damn difficult to find. Now, here's the 3 GameCube games I know of that are published by Encore, and I have them for GameCube. Let's start off with the first one, and this is the more common of the 3. Dragon's Lair 3D. Now, Dragon's Lair was a revolutionary arcade game back in the 80s. It was animated by Don Bluth, who did Secret of NIMH, All Dogs Go to Heaven. It used the Laserdisc technology, and it was an expensive game back then. $1 per play for an arcade game was outrageous back in the early 80s, but it looked nothing like the pixelated graphics. It was all hand-drawn, beautifully animated, but it was just a button masher where you have to time it and not much gameplay because of the... it was just like watching a video. It wasn't very intuitive. But they made a 3D Dragon's Lair 3D, which is basically an action platformer. You're still saving Princess Daphne. It adds new animated animation. It adds new animation by the same team who did Secret of NIMH and Dragon's Lair. So Don Bluth had some involvement with this. Now you can probably see my copy. I don't know why. I've seen a couple of these, and they all look like utter crap and garbage. Whereas in this case, EB Games, now GameStop, decided, hey, let's advertise all over the damn box. Yeah, real smart there. Now I have to get all this crap off of it. But I try to get all my games complete, and I don't know if I mentioned, but I try to get all the business reply cards on there. I'm only missing, I only have a couple of games that I know contain business reply cards, and I try to get them with the game as if it's, just open, factory sealed, with everything inside of it. So, and it includes the manual. I try to get everything complete in there. So, yeah. This game isn't too expensive right now. I think the highest is like $30 for a complete copy. But, like I mentioned, Encore. It's a Navarre corporation. It's a Navarre corporation company. So I'm not sure about Navarre, but Navarre. It's just these guys produce such low numbers on the GameCube, and this is the more common one. But if you see this, grab it. It's not easy to find, and it might get expensive down the road. There's a second one. This is kind of a shocker because I got it for cheap, and you were rarely able to find these on eBay or anywhere. That is Groove Rider Slot Car Thunder. Now, it seems like this was a budget game released in Europe, and I guess Encore picked up the rights to publish it in North America. I don't know why they this is a very niche title. You're basically, those metal tracks with those cars. Uh, they're slot cars. It's fun, but I think, in my opinion, this game is not very user friendly. It's a budget game, doesn't have a very good user interface, and the cars are just so difficult to race against. Even the first race, when you're trying to learn the controls with the L and R, switching tracks and the power-ups and then dodging these barriers, it doesn't hold your hand, and it doesn't even give you a chance to progress without failing. But the reason I mention this is it's pretty rare. I've only seen one complete copy of it, and it's this one. Now, I got this in Texas. They had to call one of their other stores in Joplin, Missouri. Now, I live in Pennsylvania, and so that was kind of a problem, and they said they would ship it out. They said there was like a tear on the because it was folded over time. This game usually doesn't come in the greatest of condition, and so finding a complete in-box copy is very difficult to find. It is very difficult to do. It's now I got lucky spending less than $20 on this, because now I guess people are realizing how rare and expensive it is. How rare it is, and now the price for it is expensive. It's around $120 for this game complete in box, and people are willing to spend money because it's more common on the Xbox, and it's pretty uncommon on the Xbox. But the GameCube version, you won't find that many copies. It's just another budget title that was published by Encore, and I guess they only had a limited amount that they could distribute, or that they had only so much funds, saying, okay, we'll only produce 30,000 or 20,000. This is just an example, and that's it for the print run. No more, no less. But yeah, keep an eye on this one. If you get it cheap, you'll make a good profit. Here's the final game that I'm going to talk about, and that is a game that is getting pretty notorious for its rarity. And yeah, I've only seen one copy of this, and it's a copy that I hold, and it's a surprise. It's probably no surprise to you. Rally Championship. I got this for $7 at a game store before people realize how expensive and difficult it is to find. Mine's not in the greatest shape. It's got, a little bit of wear on the bottom, cover art. But again, distributed by Encore. And from what I heard, this only had a production run of 10,000 units. Not very high. Not high at all. The average game is like maybe 50,000 units for GameCube. But Encore, I don't know why they only produced a piss poor amount. Maybe it's because they didn't think this would sell well. Maybe because they thought it was a niche title, and that they would, only publish a few units. But whatever the case, you cannot find this game for under $200 complete in box. And luckily my copy is complete in box. Now, it doesn't have the precautions inside of it. That's no big deal. I can find precautions from any donor GameCube game and put them in there. That's not... The manual is what's really valuable. And yeah, small niche game, low print run. and you got a recipe for expensive and rarity. Expensive and rarity. But yeah, it's, well, if there's any other, publishers that you think that I haven't covered or that you want me to cover that don't have the print run like these other publishers do, especially on GameCube, just let me know. Yeah, but I'll see you in the next video. Take care.